Owen Shannon here. I have played half of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and I don't think I'll be playing any more of it. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is the perfect encapsulation of a AAA game that is overrated by polish. This game is beautiful. You can't understate how cool it looks to play. Everyone's always talking about how you can take a screenshot at any point in this game and it will look like it could be a framed picture. Wow, I'm really in a Pixar movie. Finally, what I always wanted to do. The conversation around tech in games leads to games either being completely discounted because they don't live up to modern technical standards, or games being completely overrated because they only live up to modern tech standards. I don't like talking about tech in gaming. Gaming is the primary form of entertainment that requires both an understanding of the tech around it and an understanding of the medium itself. You can't just boot anything up on anything, and you have to know what console. Do you have the newest one? Are you going to get good frames? Don't even get me started on PC gaming .exe crap. I don't even know what I'm saying. The conversation around gaming has to include this tech discussion because it's an intimate part of understanding everything, and to be able to participate in the medium in the first place. But pretty much, you should never come to me if you want to hear about tech. I don't want to have to tell you how many frames I'm getting in a game or what system something runs best on. I'm putting my foot down because I don't care. Okay, I'll roll it back a little bit. I care. And I understand it all enough to where if I know I have the ability to play something in the best way, I will take that ability. I cannot render this completely obsolete, but let me illustrate my point a little bit. There are diehard Bloodborne fans out there that feel they can no longer play the game because it's locked at 30 FPS. Console warriors weaponize anytime specs are released on a game and one console has a slight edge in frames and resolution over another. It's a conversation that tries to delegitimize some of the best games ever made because the technical performance of a game doesn't meet your insanely high and exclusively modern standards. I have a lot of thoughts on the process of reviews and how big outlets often look very similar with their reviews. I think a huge reason for that is the overrating of polish. Playing Rift Apart lately, I believe the game is enjoyable, but it's not doing much beyond being a tech showcase for the PlayStation 5. I believe the story to be a much bigger aspect of what makes a game enjoyable, and I think Ratchet and Clank is lacking here. It is clearly aimed at children with its over-the-top niceness. They don't want to risk ruffling anyone's feathers in this game. And I think it leads to a game without any real identity in the narrative. And I can't say that I was expecting some jaw-dropping, life-changing story from a Ratchet and Clank game. It's just that I didn't hear about this that much when major outlet reviews came out. One game I've played recently is called Sable. You're a kid coming of age, about to take part in a ritual known as the gliding. You must leave your tribe in an effort to go out and have experiences, looking for how you want to spend the rest of your life. And as you can see, the art of this game is beautiful. But there are two things at play here that would disqualify it if I cared too much about tech. For one, there is a stylistic choice where Sable, the character, moves at a lower frame rate than the rest of the game. I don't quite understand the decision, but it is a conscious decision nonetheless. It's a bit of a barrier because it's jarring at first. And on top of that, the overall frame rate of this game does hitch on occasion, especially on Xbox. I am not sure if it's as much of a problem on PC. It's done. This game released broken. Patch it, or I'm never playing. And actually, by the time you patch it, I'm actually not going to play this game anymore because your time has passed. A reaction like that would be really upsetting in the case of Sable. I think there's something special here. There's a euphoric feeling that comes with traveling the desert while Japanese breakfast plays in the background. I'm not kidding. The title card moment of this game, you start traveling the desert on your brand new bike and Japanese breakfast starts playing in the background, and it's just like a wonderful experience. There's also really awesome writing at play in this game. When you go to talk to an NPC, it is not simple Breath of the Wild, like them just talking to you like, go find me crickets or whatever they want. Sometimes in this game, I suppose it's possible someone may want crickets or something of the sort, but they have a really interesting tactic here. It always starts off by describing Sable's feelings going into the conversation. I find these descriptions to be really poignant and vulnerable. Sheds light on these random NPCs that I should have no business caring about, because I am also getting to learn what Sable is thinking as he or she goes to interact with them. In addition to these descriptions, I think the dialogue from these characters are awesome. Very distinct. You can tell each person has their own personality. I have taken a creative writing class back in college, and my favorite part of that writing class was always dialogue, because I personally always felt that I had a pretty good ear for how people naturally speak, and I think the writers for Sable have an awesome ear for it, even just on text, because it is not voice acted, unfortunately. So when I go back to the tech discussion here, I'm willing to give you, the audience, the caveat about the frames in Sable. Just a quick bullet point so that you people know about this. But I fear that quick bullet point would carry far too much weight in delegitimizing a game that I think has so much merit. It is so successful in so many categories, but because the frames aren't consistent, a lot of people out there won't want to play it because of that. Now, it's entirely possible that someone who cares about hitting 100 FPS in all of their games probably wouldn't care about a game like Sable. This artsy, introspective indie game probably is not in line with what someone who just wants to play Warzone at 100 frames is looking for. But who knows? As far as my taste goes, Sable is a better game than Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And obviously there's going to be a subjective difference between my take on that and the take of other people, such as big outlet reviewers. I think my main problem stems from the fact that Sable doesn't even get a spot at the table. It's the AAA effect, it's the tech effect, and obviously the money behind the games matters as well. Perhaps if Sable did have more budget and was more polished, we would have the luxury of talking about it in, say, Game of the Year discussions. But instead, we're talking about Ratchet and Clank, which is a game I don't feel is worthy for it beyond the fact that it looks pretty. If I did a Ratchet and Clank review, it's probably a 7 to a 7.5. Yet it's sitting at an 88 on Metacritic. Now, I won't be combing through every review to determine exactly why it got high scores, but my educated guess is that it got a hefty bump for being a tech showcase of the PS5. Ratchet and Clank is kind of a poster child of the type of game that I think is all polish with not very much substance. Consider this piece as me trying to build out part of my mission statement as a critic of games. I'm not going to overrate polish, and I refuse to penalize jank because I'm trying to understand the games, not necessarily the tech behind them. And this conversation can't be had without mentioning so much of the outrage culture that you see online nowadays, and it often stems from the tech space. If you see things like the Halo fruit controversy on Twitter, or the controversy over God of War Ragnarok reusing animations from the first game, these are nonsense conversations. It's frivolous, and it's something that I never want to be asked to comment on. But shout out to the people out there that do really good tech coverage. In gaming, Digital Foundry always comes to mind. Keep doing you guys. That's awesome work. This is something that is needed. It's just not going to be me providing it. Just please keep me out of the conversation.